Milan Radia is responsible for monitoring the software and IT services industry. And so, as we were hearing there, Meg Whitman essentially saying that she's going to stick to the strategies employed by Leo Apotheker. That means that, you know, she's standing by plans to acquire Autonomy, also continuing to explore plans to spin off the PC unit. Is this something that investors are going to be in favour of?
Well, my understanding was that the real reversal of strategy that was being demanded by shareholders was an aversion to autonomy. And I think Leo went out on a limb with the software strategy, and shareholders reacted quite negatively to that. So to lose Leo but keep the strategy seems slightly at odds with that whole situation.
So do you think, I mean, they're saying right now that they're going to have to stay on course, and, you know, obviously you've had a change of leadership. Leo Apotheker in the job for less than 11 months. Before him, Mark Hurd leaving under a cloud of controversy as well. Perhaps they don't want to rock the boat too much, but you're saying that, you know, to switch the role of CEO without actually doing anything more substantive is essentially pointless, that shareholders are going to reject this?
Well, at the end of the day, is this a good move for HP? To buy their way into software, to buy their way into a very complex part of the software market, which is growing fast, but it requires vision right from the top.
And just, I mean, the challenges the company's facing with a 47% plunge in their stock price under Apotheker, what does that tell us about the challenges that she's facing now? How difficult is it going to be for her to restore investor confidence?
So I think there's a few things wrapped up in this. I think communication has been the big issue. You know, there's a strategy and the way it's been communicated to investors. And perhaps investors don't feel they've understood fully. There's been the downgrading guidance, there's been the sudden decision to lose the PC business. So there's a few things to unwind, and ultimately I think what the challenge for Meg will be to go out there and convince investors that HP can be a serious name in software. They can replicate the strategy that IBM has followed for the last 10 years and become a credible vendor. So
what should her priorities be to assure them of that?
Well, I think step one is to make sure this deal happens. Autonomy is a very well-run, successful business. Mike Lynch, the CEO of that company, is very closely associated with the success of that company, and he's going to be a little bit confused now. He'll have had a meeting of minds with Leo. Suddenly, Leo's not there anymore. Meg's in situ, and he's got to rethink a little bit and say, hang on, what happens to Autonomy?
But it's not going to affect the actual deal in any way?
Probably not. I think partly because the takeover code will make it very difficult for either party to pull out, but at the same time also there's been enormous wealth creation. I think the Autonomy management team were very aware that clearly an enormous amount of wealth creation would be lost. So I think there will be an incentive to complete the deal, but there's a risk that this becomes an orphaned asset within HP if the strategy doesn't come together.
And when we speak about the strategy coming together, we look at Meg Whitman's background. She's had experience at eBay, at consumer-driven companies, if you like, and I think if we look at consumer-driven sales, that forms, what, 25% of HP, so there have been questions and concerns about whether, how effective she can be in this new role.
Yes, and in the software market, it's more of an enterprise play. There are little slices of consumer-type activity within Autonomy, but it's an enterprise-grade sale, which is a very different proposition to what HP has conventionally historically done. That's going to require some vision. Now, maybe they bring in some of that vision, or they have to start thinking quite hard about what they're going to do with it as a board. All right. And if you look at her achievements, so she helped build eBay into what the world's largest internet auctioneer. It has a market value of $40 billion. But interestingly, she did come under fire, didn't she, for not being able to reverse a decline in their stock price, and also a sales slowdown, and then also overpaying for Skype. So there are some distant echoes here with the pressure that Apotheker has been coming under. I think, you know, there's no evidence to suggest she's not a good manager of businesses and large, complex businesses. So I think maybe the board has clearly made a decision that they'll give her a chance to run with it.
How long will she get? What might her window
evidence
be?
Suggests
11 months for
possibly
Apotheker.
Not long. Yeah. So that's a challenge. I think the board needs to now sort of come together, and they would have had a good discussion about where HP goes with Leo. I can't believe he pushed this through without the agreement and full buy-in of the board. The board has now responded to shareholder concerns. So they should now, I think, engage with investors and get the feedback, understand what it is investors feel has been missing, and pull that together and get some continuity within that board, I think.
Well, Milan Radia, Managing Director of Equity Research at Jefferies International, thanks very much.